Well, we appreciate you sticking around here. If you're, again, I'm calling this the Entourage episode. If you're like late 20s, early 30s, and you want to hear about the fun stuff that happened in these Super Bowl cities with guys who are both young and weren't in bed by 9 o'clock, that's why my pal Nick is here. We became friends over the last few years because we're basically the same age and like to do the same stuff
Yeah,
and go out and
yeah.
have fun. Before we get into the story, so I think I might have not kind of gone over this a little too quickly in part one of this episode. Again, explain your role, why you were there, and kind of how you
Yeah,
work, and kind of just so people might have forgot or get confused by why you're actually
yeah,
at these events.
right. So, I actually was I won the unofficial intern of the year one year for ESPN 99.1. So I was actually there for good reasons. And I know that kind of the point of your show is getting there and explaining to young people who want to get into this industry. Um, I was looking for an internship. I got into college as my sophomore year. I was in, I was always obsessed with the debate part of radio, and so I was looking for an internship, and I knew that there was a local affiliate, ESPN in Sioux Falls. I was up at South Dakota State in Brookings at the time, which is about 50 minutes north of Sioux Falls, where Jeff turned 99.1 overtime is. And they were looking for a new intern, and they applied to the broadcast journalism school up there, and about four of us came down for the day. And the first day I was there, I told Jeff he was an idiot because Adrian Peterson is worth more than 2 wins for the Vikings that year. So I got hired that day. Just and if you know Jeff, he loves that because that's Jeff's personality, and that's how. So I was an intern there for probably 2 years. I actually got, they hired other interns, but they kept me on. Basically that was, you are the sports traveling, where we go, you're going with to go talk to guests, go get guests on, go schedule guests. And the other part of my background is kind of in sales, so it worked great for me and it still works great for me. But to kind of point out just a quick piece, because this is something I'm actually going to maybe teach a class on this at the college down here in Omaha, is networking is so valuable in everything that you do now. So guys that want to get into radio, you need to find a niche, and don't just have an opinion on something, have a different opinion and explore that when you're going into these interviews. It's not just, oh, Tom Brady's the greatest. Well, yeah, obviously. Have something that of some substance that people are going to be interested, and obviously explain that. And I think, and that's kind of how, guys, I think you're trying to explain to people is that you want to get into this industry. It's a tough industry to get into. I mean, I am lucky that I'm still around, and I barely do a whole lot with them, but the value of why I come there is because I'll walk up to guys like Tom Brady and say, "Hey, we want you at noon. How does that work for you?" And that's
Right.
kind of what I'm there to do. If he says no, he says no. Then I'm over with Ron Rivera. Ron, we want you at 3. How does that work for you? Great. How about 2:45? We'll compromise. And there's a lot of that goes into this business of the guests that you get on, negotiating, and then, so to your point of what I'm doing here is I get to go, and we went down to the Mayweather McGregor fight in Vegas one year. Had interviews the day before. What I did is I'd walk around the stadium, and I know, yeah, hey, come quick and do an interview with us real quick. All right, great. So there's a lot of different things that you can get into, and that's where the value that I brought is. And and I was fun to talk to on the radio, but I couldn't run the radio board to save my life. I
Yeah.
I had no idea. I had no idea how to read any of that. But again, there's so many different angles to get into this. And so I guess kind of where we're going now is I'm down there. I'm not actually an employee to these Super Bowls. But I mean, like I said, I've got 15 emails this week already of people that, hey, too bad you're not out here. Too bad we're not out. See you next year.
Yeah. And
That's a
before
lot.
you
Yeah.
know what, Nate, before you keep going, because I know you're going to do a good story here, I think I just want to sit there real quick and explain again. Like, Nick figured it out. Like, I know we've shout out, you call him Jeff, I call him JT, at JT
Yep.
ESPN, right? Like JT ESPN, if you want to follow him on Twitter. It's a great piece of advice. I think it's actually one of the most valuable pieces of advice we've given so far on getting there with Goz is that look, you don't have to be a perfect tech whiz. You don't have to have the greatest voice. But if someone is going to hire you at a radio station, a television station, whatever job it is you're going for, give them a reason. Hey, we need Nick because when we go to the Super Bowl, he gets us guests. Now he's technically with us, but not with us. But he's an intern. Like, I want him because he's going to break the show better. Like, he's going to make the show better. He's going to bring things that nobody else brings. So, like, that's a huge piece of advice. Like, look, you don't have to be the best on the air, but can you cut a promo? You don't have to be the best promo guy, but can you give me a guest? Can you be a booker? Can you be an agent? Can you do work, live events, promotions? Like, I kind of look at what you do as a mix between an agent and live events. That are you, when you're in there, helping our station get better and the product on the air get better? And of course you do. So that's a great piece of advice. So you're about to talk about.
And again, that's just what I think a lot of young guys or girls that, you know, that are interested in doing this is find what you can bring to the table that nobody else is currently doing, and push that and push that and push that and push that. If you get told no, that's fine. Try the next one. I guarantee you it'll work. But more now to the fun stuff.
Now to the Gronk dad tease he left us with 6 minutes ago. Yeah.
So, again, I'm down there, and I've been to the San Francisco, Houston. I missed Atlanta, Minneapolis, Miami, and the Phoenix one.
So what city are you in now?
I'm in Omaha. Yep.
I mean, for Gronk's dad.
Oh, for Gronk's dad. So we're down in Houston. So I think this is the first year we met, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Houston.
Yep.
So we're down in Houston. And like I kind of leaded to before, at the time I'm 22, I believe 22. And if you don't know, like I alluded to earlier, Super Bowl week is for the people, celebrity. I mean this wholeheartedly. For celebrities, it is probably, other than maybe, you know, the weekend of the Grammys or whatever, might be the largest party week of the year.
Yes.
I mean, there's Playboy party, there's Barstool party, there's Leather Laces party, which Leather Laces football, not the other way, but I think it's supposed to be, you know, either way. I mean, ESPN throws a huge banger. Maxim throws a huge banger. I mean, it is celebrities everywhere. It's drinking alcohol. It is a straight frat party, LA on steroids. It's Vegas wherever the city goes, wherever that is that year.
Not to bring the mood down, but we are taping this in February of 2021, so COVID is still a thing. So a lot of things we're talking about now probably aren't happening in February of 2021.
No, they're not currently happening right now, which is sad. But again, you know, and the reason I'm building this up so much is because it is honestly it's a blast. It's something that the side of the business that probably doesn't get talked about, but I think now you and me can kind of talk about it, since we're not actually, you know, there's no repercussions. So we're down in Houston, and we get tickets to the Leather and Laces party, which it's Leather and Laces football party, to be clear. Think of a football, leather laces, okay?
We got it, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to be very clear that we didn't go to some like
S&M stuff, right?
Yeah. So we get down there, and one of my best friends from high school had actually gone to college at Rice down there in Houston. So I had texted a few friends of his that I had known, and I had gone down there 2 or 3 times to see him. And, you know, so I'm like, hey guys, you know, I got a bunch of extra tickets. We scored a bunch, and Jeff and I, you know, had finagled our way into extra tickets. And so we're going. So we get there, you know, it slows. And if you haven't been to a big city or party in a big city, the party doesn't just really, it starts at like 11 or midnight, which sounds really late, but you stay out till 4 or 5. So Jeff and I showed up at, you know, 10 o'clock, and there's nobody there. I mean, it's me, Jeff, some random people that are running the event. And I'm kind of like, did we buy tickets to the wrong party? Like, you know, what in the hell? So an hour passes. 2 hours pass. About midnight, it is jam-packed, wall to wall in this blow-up tent thing. And I mean, I was first off, so I'm a huge, obviously, Packer guy. Donald Driver, I bet you I talked to Donald Driver for an hour. I'm sure he never wants to see me again. And Don and like I said, it's chaos. Donald's sitting there with a bottle of 1942 Don Julio and drinking and everything. And these tickets, these tickets aren't exactly cheap. It's like $200 a ticket, $250 a ticket. So everything's Grey Goose. It's fun. So I've already been there 2 hours now. Remind, keep in mind. So I'd had some beverages.
Yeah.
And I look over, and I'm like, that's Gronk. Like, because they weren't playing that year. I'm like, dude, that's Gronk. All of a sudden, Gronk dips out the back. So I kind of start to go over it. I'm like, oh, what the hell? Yeah, I want to see Gronk. Like, because if you've seen Gronk in the media, this is Gronk's life. Gronk
Right,
lives
6'6". You're not gonna miss Rob Gronkowski. Right.
No. And so he had apparently had left, and I kind of turn, and all of a sudden there's another big 6'5" older guy with a little posse around him. And for whatever reason, I don't know why I am this way, but for whatever reason, I'm very good at finagling through so I kind of finagle my way next to this guy. I'm like, hey, I saw you with Gronk earlier. What's that? Oh, he goes, oh, I'm his dad. I'm like, oh. He goes, yeah.
So this is Gordon Gronkowski, by the way, for those in upstate New York. Yeah, he played at Syracuse. So if you're listening to the Central New York area, Gordon Gronkowski, Syracuse Orange men back then. Yeah.
Yep. And again, like I didn't know him, and this guy's old enough to be my dad, so I didn't know any different, And he looks at me, he goes, "You want to do a shot of Patron?" Absolutely, I do. Yeah, let's do it. So we slam one. He goes, "We're doing another one. We're doing another one. We're doing one to my new friend Nick." All right, great.
All right, what are you calling him, by the way? Are you calling him Gordy? Are you calling him Mr. Gronk? Just not referring to him by name?
I'm just calling him Gronk. I'm just calling him Big Gronk. I think I was calling him Big Gronk. I don't know.
Big Gronk.
So
all right.
Big Gronk. So, whatever. So we start, we're slamming. And Jeff at this point is God knows where, running around, and so I'm just hanging out with Gronk's dad. And at that point, now this is at the time this is like the first year that we really went and did the big party stuff. Leather and Laces is a cool party. It's a very fun party, but it's not like I would say it's the B list, C+ list celebrity outtakes. Like Donald Driver's got a table there by himself. So like,
right.
Some
of you listening might not even know who Donald Driver is, so it's not exactly right.
Right. So it's not exactly. Well,
everyone should though if you're a Packer fan.
Yeah. Next thing we look over, and Donnie, what's his name? Who's
Wahlberg?
Wahlberg. Donnie Wahlberg shows up with the blonde-haired gal. I don't know. They start popping champagne, and it's just wild and crazy. And long story short, so I end up getting drunk with Gronk's dad, which why and how, who knows, but we are. So we're all starting to leave, and he's like, hey, I think we're gonna hit this after, it's like 2 a.m. So the bar's closed in Houston still, or maybe it was 3, I don't remember. But we're gonna hit this after bar that doesn't serve alcohol, but you can go, and it's like a club. They just don't give you booze. Yeah, sure, let's go. I'm all about it. Well,
yeah.
I show up at this club, and Gronk's dad, I'm looking around outside. Where is he? Oh, I'm to the club. So Gronk's dad now I've left him, haven't found where we're at. Don't know.
Oh, no.
I don't know where I am in downtown Houston. But me being me, I'm kind of looking around like, all right, whatever, we'll make the best of it. And some good-looking blonde-haired gal comes up, starts talking to me. She goes, "Oh, come in with us. You know, we just saw you at the party. You were with Gronk's dad, and oh, you know." So they must think I'm something. I'm like, and I am a nobody, obviously. Like this isn't like, you know, B-list. Well, as I say that, they know the VIP. They're from Houston. They know the VIP host. And me being a little intoxicated, I'm like, yeah, you know, why don't we go ahead and let's just grab a table and let's hang out. And I'm all about it. And their VIP thing, it wasn't, I don't even remember how much it was. It wasn't too reasonable because you don't get anything with it, but it's just, you get
Right.
the roped off area. So we go in there and I'm like, I'm texting Jeff. I'm like, hey, yeah, I'm going to probably be home here in a little bit. As I say that, Dak Prescott and Zeke roll in, and they are right next to us in this after bar party. And I mean right next to our table. So now I'm like, yep, I'm waiting this out. And when I tell you, like when you guys, and this is you know something I don't know, but you know it's funny because you know when you see in movies and stuff when like you know everyone flocks to these people like 100%, it is a true. There was women just flocked to this table. And I'm sitting there, and at one point, I've kind of got my shoulder touching, not touching, but kind of like back to back with Zeke. And he kind of looks over and goes, God, you've got the best seat, don't you? I said, oh, yeah, I'm not getting up. Not a chance I'm getting up. So the night kind of continues. It gets later and later, and you know, like I said, there's no booze or anything. So, but it's a fun time. I mean, you get to see these athletes just relaxed, and you know, they're not letting anyone take photos. But I think what had happened is there'd gotten so many people to this area now that the security guard that these two had hired didn't know who was who. And so I'm sitting with my back to to Zeke. And this guy had to have been 6'6", 250 pounds. I mean, he was a bad man. And he comes up to me, goes, "Hey, who do you know here?" I'm like, "Oh, I got this table, I don't know, whatever." And I'm sure, you know, he's like, "All right, this little guy who's just sitting here all night doesn't know anyone." He grabs me and throws me out of the VIP section.
Oh no!
So I get kicked out of this section, and I'm kind of sitting there like, "All right, well now what do I do?" Zeke walks over, comes and says, "No, no, no, he's good. He can come back in." So I got to spend an extra hour.
Go!
Yeah, extra hour in this VIP thing. And again, these are I mean, that's just, you know, one of the little things that like these things all week go on. And it was like a Wednesday, I think is what it was. It wasn't like anything crazy or Thursday. But it's funny because it's just a different world when you go to these Radio Row things. You know,
Yeah,
and then that
man.
it leads down into our Miami story.
Yes, it
So
does. I just want to give a shout out to Zeke Elliott, man. A lot of people
yeah,
probably hear the story. They're like, man, I'm not a Zeke Elliott fan because stuff they've heard in
no,
the news before.
he
Like,
backed me up.
love it, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, Nick got to have that story. I'm gonna move on, as you just mentioned the segue there to the Miami story. I'm gonna kind of set the story up. So as you mentioned, Nick and I get to know each other in Houston is as we see each other once a year for 1 week in a year. We kind of continue to hang out and just, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? All this other stuff. So
Yep.
this Miami story, there's two Miami stories in this one. The first one is usually we always would go out to dinner, like a combination of people from around the country at the ESPN affiliates, and Nick would come with us. So we go out to dinner. It's nice.
Jeff Martindale. We
Shout
gotta
out to him.
give shout out to Martindale.
Shout out to him because he took care of us. We love
Oh
him.
yeah.
So when the dinner ends, though, we decide we don't want to call it a night. Nick and I want to go out and have fun. My co-host, formerly Levac, is with us, and somebody else from ESPN, not Jeff Martindale, is also with us. I won't say that person's name. We'll say, wait, let's just say he's very nice to us, like he was awesome. But we all four of us want to go out now. If I remember this correctly, and maybe I'm gonna mismatch this here. We first go to Senor Frogs, which is just basically like a
No, no,
chain
no, no, no,
restaurant.
no, no, no,
Okay,
no,
go
no,
ahead,
no.
help me here.
Yep. See, that's okay. So that was the night you and me just met up.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So we went down to the Clevelander. Oh no, no, no. We went. Let me back up. We went to a place down the street from the Clevelander. So we're in Miami Beach. If you don't know the Clevelander is where
Wait. Here, no. Here's exactly what happened. Nick gets put assigned to be the guy to find the next party because Nick, you just heard his story. He's the young guy. They're like, Nick's got to find us a party. So it's me, Levac, an ESPN person we won't say, and you. And you said, hey, I got the place. Now, what happens next is you take us
that's
about
right.
what? You take us about a 20-minute block, 20 blocks in South Beach.
From where we were at.
From where we had dinner, and we're walking down
You're
South Beach. But what's happening now is like we had a few drinks in us, we're having fun, we're enjoying the South Beach life. Beautiful women, beautiful weather. But at some point, I don't know if it was Levac or somebody else said,
it was Levac.
Where the hell are we going, Nick?
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't tell us where you were taking us. But as you just said there, you end up taking us to the Clevelander. And for those who aren't familiar with the Clevelander, that is the home of the Dan Le Batard show. It's Stu Gatz. That's where they film.
And
it's a wonderful hotel. Like you said, okay, here's the party. And to your credit, before we get to what happens there was a party going on, but we couldn't get in yet.
Yeah. So we get to the Clevelander. So I drag these guys probably 15-minute walk through Miami, South Beach.
Right on South Beach, yeah.
You and me are having a blast. You and me are living it.
Oh, yeah.
Levac was not real thrilled to his, but again, so finally we get to the Clevelander, and actually the producer, so Jeff and I had been on Dan Le Batard earlier that day for we had some special thing that we're trying to get Stu Gatz to Sioux Falls. So we had been on Le Batard's show the day before, or the afternoon before. And the producer said that they were having a party down there and that we should swing by. So I'm like, all right, great. Yeah, we'll come by. And so that's where I wanted to go. I was dead set. We were going to the Clevelander. So we get to the Clevelander and there's a private party. And
don't say for who yet. Don't say for who the private party is. We'll save that for later. There's just a private party, we'll just say.
Yeah, there's a private party. So, nope, you can't get in. And again, so I've had 4 years of this. I already know, like, no. There's no such thing. And when these things go on, there's no such thing as a private party. So I'm like, how much is this going to cost? What do we got to do? You got to grease the guys at the front door to get in, and that's how they normally let you in, and that's always how it is. But I don't remember that at first they kind of fought us on it.
What happens is, like they tell us you can't come in. So I think initially us four gave up. We said us four, we're just going to go to, I think we legit went to the bar next to it and just hung out and had those like big drinks. We just hung out and had a bunch of drinks and
so we go,
beautiful Miami women. Yeah. So we went to the one next door initially.
So we go to the one next door and we get these big fish bowls. And continue the drinking. And it's a great time. Again, this place is fun too. There's some dancing going on. It wasn't like a club, but it was like a fun little DJ outside. If you haven't been to South Beach, there's not really on South Beach there's not really like, it's not nightclubish as like everyone thinks. It's very like outdoorsy bar, live music, club music, but it's not like what you'd think of like the bump and grind, like
you know what I mean? It's exactly.
It's fun. It's very, very fun. And so we finished the fish bowls, and someone who will not be named at ESPN, we're kind of razzing him, about, you're big, exec at ESPN, but can't get us into the private party at the Clevelander. So, I think at this point he had, had a little bit to drink. So I think finally he's like, you know what? I'm just going to flash the badge. And we're kind of like, what? What do you mean? Like,
and Levac's gone at this point. Levac has left. Levac's like, I'm done with you idiots. All right, it's you three. I'm calling a cab. I'm done. It's just you three now.
So he dips. He heads back to the hotel. And he who will not be named, and you and me kind of look at each other like, what do you mean? Like, because we don't have those type of IDs. Like, we don't have something that's, you are so-and-so, ESPN radio, so we're kind of like,
to quote Billy Walsh here, he's a suit, as he once told me at a bar. He's like, I didn't realize this guy was a suit. It's for Billy Walsh fans out there in Entourage. This guy's a suit.
This guy's a suit. So we kind of are confused. We're like, well, what the hell does that even mean? Like, I was fully expecting if we want to go to this party, like, we're going to have to basically, throw some cash to get in. And that's normally how they run it. I forgot that he did this. So we walk over with the suit, and he tells the front people that he's with ESPN Radio and that me and Goz are on the Dan Le Batard show. And I don't know if you know this because I was up there with him.
I did not know any of this. I did not know
Yes.
he said.
So you and me had both had quite a bit to drink at this point.
We
So
did.
you and me, you and me are now on the Dan Levitard show. And so they let us into this private party at the Clevelander, and a security guard comes over, walks us up to the bar, and we get 2 rounds of drinks or a round of drink or 2 rounds of
Yeah.
drinks for free, like whatever we want. So we're kind of standing there having drinks, hanging out. The suit who will not be named is like, I can't imagine he gets to go out and do a whole lot of that. So he's, really having a good time. And we kind of start to look around, and guys, you can finish the rest of this because you
Yeah.
told the best.
So what happens is Nick and I have had a few drinks, and clearly the suit we're with realizes something before we do, and he jets. He basically has his drink, goes and says, "You two have fun. You're the young
Yeah.
guys. I'm going to bed." So we're like, "Why
It
did he
wasn't
jet?"
like I'm casually leaving. It was like the light had clicked and he's out.
I gotta go. So
Yep.
what he realized is that, and I want to make sure I get this right because I'm almost 100% sure this is what happened. The party was the BET party.
Yeah.
So Nick and I are the only white guys at the party.
the only white guys.
BET was having a party at the
Yep,
Cleveland.
and we are at the BET Super Bowl party at the Clevelander. And looking, like after I think about this, it was very odd because like we were over in the corner by ourselves, and like I can remember people kind of looking at us like, what the hell are these guys doing here? And I didn't think anything of it because again, it is Miami. Like, there's a bunch
It's
of
2 a.m. at
people.
this point. Like nobody
Yeah,
cares. Right.
nobody gives a crap. So so we end up at the BET, and I don't remember what they were having, but who do you remember who sang? Someone came on stage.
It wasn't Nas. Not I feel like maybe not Little
Was it
Nas.
not?
Nas. Somebody from the early 2000s. I want to keep. Nas keeps popping in my head. I
Nas
think it
sounds
was
right. I don't
Nas.
know. Maybe it was. I don't remember, but and I think that's when you and me kind of looked at each other and like kind of finally realized like, oh, this is like a concert, like this is like a private party. Yeah, I mean things like that go on, and that's fun,
Oh
and
my God,
it's
dude. It just like you said, people are just kind of looking at it. It's like, we know you're not supposed to be here.
yeah, like
You two got in somehow, some way. We'll let you stay. People are hanging out by the pool, drinking, having a good time. Nobody's bothering us. But once in a while, I'll get the occasional look of like, you're a kid from Omaha, from Minneapolis. I'm a kid from Syracuse. Like, we know you two. This is not your scene, but you're having a good time and you're not bothering anybody.
And we're not bothering anyone. And again, that's back to the same thing. I before before we kind of end it here, I got to tell this one too. So the Minneapolis one, where I wish that we had gotten in touch because I was living up there at the time, and I was actually working at Comcast, and I was selling sports advertising up there. And somehow I couldn't even tell you because this is how little of a connection it was. One of my clients had a table at the after party of the Justin Timberlake's after party because he did the halftime performance there. And so I went to the game and did the game. And my buddy who was staying with me at the time stayed at my apartment and had drank the whole Super Bowl. So and again, we went out Thursday, Friday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night now. I don't work Monday. And, so he's popped when I get home. And I'm like, hey, you got to pull it together. Like, we're going to go to the Timberlake party. But I said, here's the thing. Like, I'm like, and he doesn't care. I can tell his name's Ben. I'm like, Ben, you can't have your phone. He's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, you cannot have your phone out at this party. Like and if you don't, and if you haven't heard about these parties, there's one party every year. And I think it's, I can't remember it. I think that year it was Pepsi that did the halftime show. I think they always do, but Pepsi. So Pepsi throws a very exclusive after party of the Super Bowl for whoever does the halftime show, and no one knows exactly where it is. But one of my clients that I had been working with had a table there, and I mean So the main level is here. There's tables down below, and then there's a balcony. It was at one of the big nightlife places in Minneapolis. She is I think she was like the director of marketing for like 3M or something ridiculous. I don't remember. We had met in a meeting, and I was young and fun, and she wanted to. She was younger too. It wasn't anything
Yeah.
weird, but it was a good, fun, young connection of like, hey, we're young, fun. Let's go out, go out. So she has the table that on top overlooks the whole venue and this front stage. And like I said, Ben, okay, we're going. This will be great. This is going to be a blast, but you cannot have your phone. I'm serious. Like you will get in trouble. Yeah, whatever. So we get into the party. Poorhouse, that's where it was at. Poorhouse that year. And he gets up. We get to the balcony. What do you think the first thing he does?
Pulls out the phone. Of course he does.
Security guard comes over, goes, "Hey, buddy, no, sorry, can't do this. We can't have that." Okay, cool. Second time,
Ballsy.
this guy comes over, takes his phone, and whips it across the venue.
My God.
And
God.
yeah, I mean like a frisbee, whips it across, and Ben is just like, like, what the hell's going on? What the hell? I'm like, Ben, I told you were gonna lose your phone, man. Like, you can't be doing that. At the same time, and this is how uninvolved with pop culture I am. Apparently, Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel are together.
Yes, they're married.
Yeah,
have kids.
No idea. I had no idea. So I see Justin Timberlake up there hitting on Jessica Biel, and I'm kind of, yeah, Justin, rooting him on because he's dancing
wow,
with her.
yeah, right. Wow, how'd you pull a Jessica Biel, man? Way to go!
And finally, I think what ends up happening is we go and I'm like, hey, we got to find his phone at least, I give Timberlake a fist bump. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. He kind of looked at me like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I had no idea they were together. No idea. We end up leaving that, but I mean, those are just some of the fun things that go on. I mean, I miss it. I'm sad that we're not there. Yeah, I wish, but just things like that. I mean, again, I for the reason we're telling all this, I think is I think a lot of this industry this is a very cutthroat industry, as you've alluded to, in your previous podcast. I mean, it's a lot of, it's a good old boys club to a certain extent. It's not always a good old boys club to a certain extent. There's a lot of people that have their that want to have their irons in the fire, and I think that's something, that you and I both can agree on, is there's a lot of fun and a lot of good times and a lot of good things that can come of this once you find your niche and what this industry is going to be.
And that's totally it. Like, and just to go a little further on that, like, that's kind of what's bothered me about this industry a little bit. And I'm talking, like more traditional forms of media, is that, look, we're all real people. Like, to think that like your favorite radio host or television anchor or writer or that they don't go out and party in Miami. Of course they do. And like, they're going to share stories with you. Like, there's this fear of like, what? You drank alcohol in one of the biggest party cities in the world? How dare you? Like, I think hearing these stories, hopefully you'll be like, yeah, like Nick and Goz, they're young dudes who want to have fun, and just like my friends and Johnny Drama and E and everybody else.
Right.
So I'll close with this. I'll close with this story because I did mention it was 2 nights in Miami. Yes, hopefully in the future, you and I will reconnect and we'll have fun. And hopefully you listening, which would be the coolest thing. If you're listening, getting there with Goz, and who knows, 2 or 3 years from now, you're like, I'm meeting up with these guys. Nick's got his Twitter on the video. I got my Twitter. You tweet us if you're in whatever, LA or New Orleans, whatever the future is.
Next year we're in LA. So if anyone that ends up in the industry and is interested in, honestly, reach out. We'll be out there. I've got quite a few friends that live out there as well. So it'll be a fun weekend. Week. Absolutely reach out.
Yeah. So what happens is when Nick and I are by ourselves on Friday night in Miami, Levax says he doesn't want to go out. JT, Jeff says he doesn't want to come out. So you and I.
Saturday night, wasn't it?
Saturday. Friday or Saturday. Whatever the last day was, we were there. One of those 2 days.
Jeff goes home. Both Jeffs go home.
Yeah. So at this point, I know I like want to have fun now. At this point in my life, when this is happening. This is January of 2020, February, maybe early.
Yeah.
My baby boy is on the way. So I'm going to be a dad in June. I'm married. And I heard Rick DiPietro, the former New York Islander player, say this on his show. DiPietro, Canty, and Rothenberg, I think is what it's still going to be called at this point. He had said, look, when you get to have a family and you go to these events, what you're going to want to do in the future is you're going to want to go to bed. Like you're going to want to get a glass of wine because your baby's never going to sleep, which is true. I'm finding that out 7 months into Rex. That I actually had that planned this year. Unfortunately, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have one day where I party with Nick and another day where I'm going to go to bed at like 10 and sleep into 9 and have no baby crying and just like sleep. So I'm like, you know what? That's not this year. I'm just going to rage. Like I'm just going to drink as much as I can. I'm going to have as much fun as I can because I know next year and the rest of my life, like it's basically bachelor party 2.0.
Yeah.
That's my mindset, which is a horrible mindset to go out drinking.
Yes, especially in Miami, because right. and if you don't know the layout of Miami, where you were at and where I was at, we had we had a hotel and you had a hotel where were at. We're like, we don't want to go all the way down the strip. We don't want to go do all like the true, like we don't want to go towards the Clevelander. But we're like,
right.
All right, let's find somewhere where we can go have drinks, but it'll still be fun.
Exactly.
And so you and I had kind of gone back and forth about, should we go? Should we not? And again, like to your defense, like I think you were pretty. You hadn't done all the extravagant crap that I had done the whole week.
Right.
So
besides
I'm like,
our BET party,
besides the EBET party, but
you're done and I'm ready to rage.
And so finally, I'm like, all right, you know what? We'll figure something out. And I Google, bars in between. I pull this up. I'm like, oh, Senior Frog. And if you haven't been to Senior Frogs or know what Senior Frogs is, there's a Senior Frogs down is it Cancun, I believe?
Yeah, I think remember. It is. Yeah.
Cancun. And do yourself a favor and just Google Senior Frogs and go to videos and just watch that. And that explains a lot of the scene of what Goz and I got ourselves into.
Yeah. And the best part for me is I'm within walking distance of my Airbnb, by the way. That was a big part for me because I'm like, you know what? I don't know where the cabs or the Ubers. I'm like running low at cash at this point. Yeah. So we're having a great time. It's just you and me hanging there. And it's Friday or Saturday night. And because it's you and me at a table, like the waitresses are coming over and like having fun with us and goofing around. I think it was a foam party, right? Do I remember that
party?
Correctly?
Yeah. It was a foam
party we were at. Yeah. So at one point, let's just say I'm outpacing Nick. We'll just say, let's say old Ghazi Bear is getting a little too excited. Yeah.
Let's preface this as well, though. I'm not a large dude.
I'm a big former college football player. Right.
Yeah, you're a big dude. Guy. At this time, I'm tall. I'm taller. I'm 5'10". I'm probably 210 pounds. I'm not by anything.
I'm in still D lineman shape at my point. 6'2", 260, we'll say for the sake of this conversation. But so here's what happens. Nick is more responsible than me. We're drinking till 1 a.m. Maybe Nick's not more responsible. I say we're both just having a great ass time. We're having fun. We're two buddies having fun in Miami, living up life, having fun at a phone party. At some point, the reason I said responsible is that you did realize that a storm was on the way in Miami, like a torrential downpour. And I think you had said, hey, guys, I'm going to call a cab, 1:15. You're going back to your place. I would start heading over to your Airbnb because you're about to get caught in the rain.
Yep.
So I don't know if you know this.
Keep in mind the bars in Miami stay open till 4.
Yeah.
So like it's not like at 2:00 where most places it's hey get out. It's no you're good until 4.
Yeah. So you hop in the Uber, and if you know me, like I never wear glasses. Something happened where my contacts fell out. Something weird happened with my contacts that I was wearing glasses hanging out with you. So that means you're real tight with me if you actually ever see me wearing glasses. So I'm wearing glasses the whole night. And so I'm going back, and right when I'm walking back from the Airbnb, boom, torrential Miami downpour. Now put yourself in my spot here. Like you've been drinking for hours in Miami with your buddy. You're going to a spot, and if you know me with directions, I don't know anything. Like, I'm the worst at getting lost. So now here I am, few drinks deep, trying to find my Airbnb in Miami with glasses on. Now, I do find the Airbnb, and I think as a good friend, you did check on me to make sure I made it back.
Yeah, I called
But
you. I remember.
yeah, you did, because you knew I was in for a rough ride once the water hit. Yeah. So I made it to the Airbnb, but what happens is my glasses, I'm telling you, this is how much rain there was. My glasses get so fogged up. I literally cannot see 2 feet in front of me. Like, here's the
Yeah.
pin code to get in the Airbnb, and my glasses are so fogged from the Miami rain, I can't see what I'm typing in. So imagine you see some kid at Saturday night, 3 a.m. in the morning, whatever time it is, trying to bang on a. I'm like, oh God. So I'm like, you know what? I can't see from these glasses. And I'm trying my best to wipe them off, but my shirt is soaked, so it's not helping. Nick, I take my glasses and throw them into some bushes. I'm like, why? Why would I do that?
I didn't
That's
know
what I was,
this. You
dude. I
never
thought that
told
was
me this.
right. I thought this was the best idea to whip off my glasses and throw them into the bushes. So obviously now I can't see at all. So I have to get in. And I know my phone was running pretty low at that point. I'm like dancing around like 5% at this point on my phone. So I go to text Levac, who's in the room, and his name's obvious in my phone is an L, but instead of Levac, and Albany people will get this reference, I text Liana Bonavita, who's a local TV anchor here in Albany, because
Oh no.
L-I Isabel of like, I
Yeah.
don't know, L-I is above L-V now, thinking back. Like, I don't know how I hit the I instead of the E, but I texted Liana, and luckily she's a friend, some nonsense like, why aren't you letting me into the dorm? Like, and if Liana, I hope Liana has it. Like, maybe she listens, she'll send out the screenshot of what I texted her. And I'm, again, Liana, she texted me later. She's like, you must have had a great time if you texted me to get let back in. So Levac, finally I get a hold of Levac, and Levac lets me in. He just goes, Goz, I've never seen you in this type of state before. You were hammered. I'm like, I
Oh.
know. But I'm telling Levac, I'm like, I'm having a kid. You don't know what it's like to have a kid. He's like, I have a kid. She's 17. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, dude? So just imagine, like, if you, and I
Wow.
always recommend this to people, again, getting there with Goz, this is not going to fit in the most recommendations, but before you're a father and you have to have responsibilities, and I've talked about how important that is to me in the past, like being a dad and being responsible, you can have moments in your career and life where you're irresponsible and have fun and goof off.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to make sure I turned that all the way up because I knew it was coming all the way down.
Yeah.
So that's what happened in that second night in Miami. My glasses are lost somewhere with these stray cats. Liana Bonavita, a local news anchor, tried to let me in. Levac finally let me in. I was soaked in Miami torrential downpour. But dude, I'd sign up and do that 100 more times
Oh
if we got
yeah.
to do that.
I
Well,
mean,
there it is.
just
Yeah, go
there
ahead.
it is. Yeah. I was gonna say just the. I think kind of the reason that we're telling it's not because we're trying to, you know, talk about all these crazy party things we've done. It's the bonding of these people that you meet. You know, it's more than just, oh yeah, we were going out to work, but like you form these friendships and these lifelong, you know, experiences that I mean, great. I mean,
Yes, dude.
I
I think
would
it'd be
do
the
it all over again.
I think it'd be the coolest thing if like someone's listening to this podcast in 2022 or 2023 or 6, 8 months from now. It's a big sporting event. They're like, yo, I heard Getting There with Goz and Nick were being real about their parties together. And that, a lot of times, like Nick's very bold at going out to people. Be like Nick and be bold and just
Yep.
introduce yourself and be like, hey, you're a young guy in media, so am I. Let's stick together. So many people are so competitive about this
Yeah.
industry that they're all out for themselves. Like, I hope that breaks away from yours and that if you're
Yes.
doing
Yeah.
this job, you can be from Minnesota, Nebraska, New York, Florida, anywhere and build a really cool relationship like you and I have over the last 5 years and able
Absolutely. Yeah.
and honestly to be able to share these stories, which is really cool. So
Yeah.
I've kept you way longer than you need to. You have a real job. Just quick plug your Twitter if people have questions about these nights and want to reach out, and then I'll
Yeah.
finally let you go.
I was gonna say, I think that's my
Nick is going through his phone right now for those
yeah.
listening on the
I
audio
am,
version. Make
yeah,
sure I get
sorry.
it right.
I'm looking through my phone. That's my
Are you looking for
Instagram.
Levac or Liana Bonavita's number?
Well, Levac.
Yeah, right.
Misspelling. No, that's my Instagram though, but my my Twitter is Nick_Goldman. I know, unfortunately, this year I know it sucks that we can't be down there, and um, here's the other thing too: is if there's anyone that's listening to this that's interested, that you know, we can get. I mean, we probably can't charter you down there on a flight, but if you can get down to or get out to LA next year, and we'll really want to see this, we can get you a media pass. You can come out for a day and hang out with us. I mean, we've done that in the past. It's great. It's fun. Feel free to reach out and ask me questions. I mean, I do actually have I do have a company that I run, but I mean, it's this media thing is something that's a very it's not a job for me, but it's something I'm very passionate about. I'm never going to give it up. Um, Feel free to reach out to me and let me know if you're out in LA and
doing your thing.
you
And by
know,
the way, if you want to in the Capital Region or upstate New York want to host Nick for a virtual drinking party, he is
yeah,
very open to Zoom in, even though he's across the
yeah.
country. So, all right, my dude, I will let you go. Thank you so much
All
for
right, my
sharing the
man.
stories with me, and
Good to
hopefully you
see you.
enjoyed it. Good to see you. Drinks very soon again.
Absolutely.